Hello, General Biology. This video is going to be about the different types of scientific tests. And scientific tests are important because for scientific inference to become scientific knowledge, it's got to pass certain tests. And we have multiple types of scientific tests. And we'll start with the most popular and one of the most effective. It's one of our favorite scientific tests. Is the experiment. And this is sort of a diagram of an experiment by Louis Pasteur. There was a time when the idea about life was that it's spontaneously generated. That you could, if you had food and you left it out, then the food would essentially turn into life, and there would be bugs and grubs and flies that would live on it, and the food would turn into those things, and that was called spontaneous generation. Life spontaneously generated. Well, Louis Pasteur thought, well, maybe life doesn't spontaneously generate. I want to test some things. So he had a broth. This is a nutrient broth. So basically it's food. It's liquid food. And he heated it up. He boiled it to kill whatever might be living in it already. And then he put the broth in a couple of different containers. He put it in a container that had this glass tube that went up, and it was thin, and then it went back down, and then it came back up. And then he put it in another container where there was no glass tube. It was just open. And he let them sit. And in time, what he found was that this bottle that had the neck, nothing grew in it. There was no life in that bottle. But this bottle over here that did not have a neck, they did have bacteria growing in that bottle. And so he thought, this suggests that it's not just the food, because if it was just the food alone, then there would be spontaneous generation and there would be organisms in this bottle. But because that didn't happen, he thought that there might be another idea. He thought that the life might come from things that are already living, and they just fall into the bottle and they start eating the food, and then they reproduce, and now we can see lots of them. Whereas over here, he had the idea that the life was trying to come in, so there might be little tiny living things that try to get in there, but then they get stuck in this bottle, and so they don't ever grow to the food. So the inference about life changed because of this experiment. Now, in this experiment, he controlled a lot of things. He set up 2 different situations, and he did the same thing to both the situations to see how the situations might have different results. So in an experiment, scientists are very, very in control of what's going on. They set up different situations, and they compare the situations, and because they're in control of it, they can repeat this experiment, and he can show it to other people, and other people can try it for themselves. So that's some ideas about an experiment. But there are other kinds of tests. Another kind of test is called a natural experiment. And in a natural experiment, scientists observe a situation that they didn't themselves create. So scientists were not in control of the situation. And sometimes there are situations that scientists cannot control, and so they're never going to be able to observe it unless it occurs naturally. One example of a natural experiment is a situation where there were twins that are born. This is going to be a twin study. There are twins that are born, but they are put up for adoption, and different families adopt each twin. And so what we get to do is we get to see how much of their life is going to be determined by their genetics, because each twin has the same genes, and how much of their life is going to be determined by the environment that they grow up in. Now, that's not something that scientists can do. Scientists can't go around and say, hey, you're a mother of twins, we're going to separate your children from you. That's just not acceptable. So this is not something scientists can do, but when it happens naturally, scientists can use this opportunity to make their new observations of a situation that they can't control. So natural experiments let scientists observe a situation they can't control, so we can get new observations. But they're kind of inconvenient because the scientist has to go with the time of the natural event. Because the scientist is not in control of it, either the opportunity comes up on its own or it doesn't, and they can't be repeated very easily because the event has to occur again. So they have some catches. The last type of experiment is an observational study. So in this example, observers are going to be at a supermarket, and every time someone checks out of the supermarket, they They make a list of the groceries, and then they divide them up to say how much of the food is fresh and how much of the food is prepared food. And that way they can say, this percentage of people buy fresh food, or every time someone goes, 35% or whatever is fresh food that they buy. This allows us to identify patterns and make some observations that we couldn't make before, but we're not in control of the situation, and we might not be able to know why the pattern is developing the way it is. So observational studies have a lot of limitations. So finally, let's review. Scientific inferences must pass tests to become scientific knowledge, and there are different kinds of scientific tests. The first are experiments, which are very popular tests. Scientists are in control of the test. They can test what they want to test. They are allowed to make observations of new situations because they are creating the situations in the experiment, and they can repeat the test in order to build confidence in their results or to share with other scientists. On the other hand, some subjects cannot be experimented because scientists cannot control every situation. We cannot make a volcano explode, for instance. We can't do that. The second type are natural experiments. Their benefits are that the environment sets up the experiment for us. They can explore very large-scale events, like you can explore volcano eruptions in a natural experiment, and they can allow us to make observations of new situations. On the flip side, they're inconvenient because we are not in control of the timing, and we cannot be repeated. So if we're not sure about something, we have to just go with it until the event repeats again, which might be a very long time. Finally, Type 3, observational studies. Observational studies are very easy to conduct. They help identify patterns, and they can help infer information about the past, but they are limited to situations that already exist. Unlike experiments where we create new situations, we can only go with the situations that are occurring naturally, and the observations can be very influenced by assumptions. I hope this helps. Struggle well.